Hey guys, it's Marty and welcome to Two Line Slot Cars. First things first, I haven't put out a new video in a couple of weeks and I wanted to explain what was going on. My daughter Maddie got married and we were preparing for a wedding and we had a million things to do. And then I drove from Ohio to Colorado and then drove back after the wedding. And it's been an exhausting couple of weeks. Put a new roof on the house. And after we were done with the new roof, our AC died. And so we had to put a new heating and air conditioning. So it's been a couple crazy weeks, expensive weeks, but we survived it. So, but I want to thank everybody for jumping in and continuing to comment on my videos. The response has been great. I just want to thank you for hanging in there with me. And I promise more content is coming. This video, I want to jump in. Real quick story. My brother ordered a bunch of things online for the slot car track and accidentally ordered two of the same car. And so in this video, we're going to review the Carrera Digital Mustang GTY. And this is a great looking car. Really excited about jumping in and taking a look at it and see how it performs on the track. So this video, we're not going to jump into tuning this car yet. We're just going to tear it open, see what it looks like, see how it compares to other Carrera cars, other Carrera digital cars, and then throw it on the track and see how it performs. Do some mild tuning, just the basic stuff that I normally do with a car before I throw it on the track. So we're going to walk through that, and then I'll do a follow-up video because I have a feeling that this car is not going to perform great. I'm looking at these tires, and they are low profile. I just don't know that this car is going to get a lot of rear grip. So let's see what it does. Let's tear into it. But man, great looking livery. I love the flat tan paint. It's a good looking car. So let's see how it performs right out of the box on the track. I'm not getting too excited about it. I think it's going to need some tuning, but let's find out. Okay, guys, here we are with the Carrera Digital 1/32 scale Ford Mustang GTY. Again, I've not done a lot of research on the GTY series, but I will tell you that I really like the looks of this Mustang. I do like the fact that it doesn't have a big wing to break off. So let's get it detached from the base. I love the paint scheme. This kind of flat tan color is pretty sweet. Again, since we have two of the same car on the track, my brother painted a big lime green stripe across the top of his, so it would stand out on the track and look a little different than this one. And it looks really sharp. It was a good choice, good color choice. So again, man, it's a good looking car. I'm just curious to see how it's going to perform. So before we throw it on the track, we will do a couple of minor tuning things that I do to every car before I run it, just because I think it's just a good habit to get into. There we go. Typical Carrera body, pretty heavy. That's the big difference that I see between Carrera bodies and some of the other. They are made to take a beating. They're pretty heavy duty, heavier plastic. They're not really worried about weight. When we look at the inside, this looks pretty much like a typical chassis. You've got a magnet in front of the motor, and then one that sits a little closer to the track behind the motor. But they're not super strong magnets, so it's not like having both of the magnets in there. You have your digital chip. Pretty basic layout. It does have lights like all Carrera cars now, and yeah, pretty basic chassis.
Okay, every car before it goes on the track, I have some super lube synthetic grease from Carrera slots, and I'll just put a little bit right here on the gear. Be careful because it does come out quick on the pinion and the crown gear. A little goes a long way. I probably have just a touch too much, so I'll take some of that off. Okay, that looks pretty good. And then I have from Carrera slots some super lube synthetic oil. And so I think my buddy John Mark bought this, and it just stays on our tuning table here here at the track, so anybody and everybody has a chance to use it. And so I just put a small drop at the bushings, just a touch. Okay, and then I put just a touch on the motor bearings, and they're probably sealed. They probably don't need it, but I hit them just in case. So, and you can actually feel that smooth out a little bit, and now you can see those front axles really spin freely. So that is all the tuning. The other, I will put a touch right here where the where this pivots, where the guide pivots, and just kind of work that in a little bit. And so that's it. That's the basic tuning that I'm going to do on this car before I throw it on the track. Okay, one last thing. As I'm putting this car back together and putting the body screws back through the chassis into the body, one of my subscribers commented on one of the videos, and I had mentioned the word float, but I didn't really explain float, and probably because I really don't know a whole lot about why it works. I guess when I think about it, it logically makes sense. So now I've tightened all 4 screws, and the body and the chassis, because it's so tight, are really one. And since slot cars don't have suspension, what you want to try to do is create a little bit of body float. So the body and the chassis, if you can create a little bit of movement, it will help you stick in the turns. And so which makes sense. So if the body can roll independently or slightly independently from the chassis, it changes the center of gravity, keeps the car a low center of gravity. The body rolls instead of the car breaking loose. That body gives a little bit, the chassis flexes a little bit, and allows the car to stick to the track. So when I think about that and how I just explained it, that's really in its simplest terms. But what I do on a basic setup is I'll come in after I tighten the screw all the way. I'll come and back each one of those screws off. For the Carrera cars, I'm doing about a full turn, and start there, and then just kind of go from there. So that's about a full turn, and I can already feel it's not a lot of movement, but you can see that chassis flex a little bit independent of the body. So I'm actually going to go just a touch more and see how that feels. I will say that slotted cars, I've not really messed with it. I don't own an NSR. Now you can see, if you look closely, you can see that flex a little bit. It would be nice to have a little bit of side front to back movement, but that's a little tough to get in Carrera cars. So if you can just get some chassis flex outside of the body, you're in pretty good shape. So I'm about 2 full turns on the rear screws, and the same on the front. So we're going to try that and see how that goes. So that's float. It's one of those little techniques that you can try to get the car to perform a little better. Other brands like Slotted and NSR have a motor pod, so that the motor can flex and move independent of the rest of the chassis and the body. And a lot of those more, I would say, performance-oriented cars, like Slotted, NSR. I'm not familiar with a bunch of others, so I don't own them. So I don't really want to speak without having had my hands on them and tried to tune them. But they usually have 2 body mount screws, so it's a little easier to get float into the car. And their bodies are usually a little lighter weight, and then they have the motor pod, so that really is a big advantage with those chassis. So, but let's put this on the track and see how it goes. Test the Mustang. That didn't last very long. Okay, the first thing that I notice is rear grip. It's struggling. It's struggling with rear grip. Okay, so let's try this again. Really struggling with rear grip. Definitely going to need a set of quick slicks for how we run on this track. But I add a little bit of some WD-40 type of lube on the tires and a little bit of tire treatment and see what happens and see if that improves the performance. Let's see if I can just get one clean lap. That would be a no.
So guys, there you have it. As I predicted, the car, it had nice straight line speed. So it was fairly quick. I think there's a lot of performance that we can get out of this by doing some basic tuning, but it really struggled to stay in the slot. And I think that has everything to do with, it doesn't have a lot of magnet and the rear grip of these tires. So I think item number 1 is we're going to have to throw some quick slicks on this to see how it performs. If I can figure out what quick slicks fit this car. So let's see what we can find. Let's do some tuning and let's do a follow-up video and see if we can improve the lap times. This car ran, the fastest lap was a 9:42, I think. I'm going from memory. I'll fix it on the screen if that was wrong. But that's probably about a second and a half off of the average time that most Carrera cars get around my track. So it's just not performing well. I love the car. I think it's great. It does tend to, when it deslots, it rolls right to its top. And I don't know what's causing that. So we'll explore to try to figure that out. So, hey, thanks for tuning in. Again, if you like this type of content, you want to know more about Carrera digital cars, Carrera digital track. If you're new to the hobby, click the subscribe button, click the bell so you get notified when I put out new videos. And thanks for tuning in. I appreciate it. And guys, have fun racing.